Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies.
You did it.
I did.
You never start with welcome to Backyards and
Episode
Bevvies.
61. I figured it out. Welcome.
So impressed.
We have actually not been in the backyard in a while because it's each time we go to record, even though it looks sunny outside, it's pretty...
I mean, it is sunny, but it doesn't mean it's warm.
It's chilly.
It is
It's very bone chilling outside right now. There's a little bit of moisture. I always feel like the moisture plus wind, like a small amount of wind plus cold, really is the bone chill.
Oh, Philip Chris, meteorologist, weatherman.
Weatherman. I dabbled one time.
No, you did not.
Didn't.
I was like, really? Tell me the story.
News anchor, Phil.
I know. I was waiting for the
We have a northeastern
here.
coming in right here. And da, 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 blah, blah,
Northeastern?
blah. Yeah.
It's a nor'easter.
Midwesterner. We have a Midwesterner flying in from the west.
Oh, my. Yeah.
So I think during the winter, even though the show's called Backyards and Bevvies, it's just worth our time just to film inside.
We also don't always have a bevy.
Yeah, we also don't have bevies all the time. I think it's the idea, you know?
I mean, it's just the title.
It's just a title.
It's fine.
I mean, it's just CEO.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's whatever. It's fine.
I mean, I am drinking a small amount of tequila out of my Marty the Moose.
Don't be
Christmas
confused, people. That
vacation.
is not water.
Yeah, this is highly potent tequila.
Tequila.
Yeah. This is right from Mexico.
It is from Mexico.
I don't think so.
It is.
I mean,
It's made in Mexico.
I bought it.
It says it
at a
on the
store.
bottle.
I know.
I bought it in a store.
Yeah, you bought it. But I think drinking out of the Christmas Vacation Marty the Moose cup makes it all the much better.
I mean, it sounds so beautiful, the ice clinking against the glass. It sounds like a chandelier. Oh. We're setting the mood.
What is it like? We're a lot of things are happening. We're drinking tequila. You have a little champagne.
Mm-hmm. It's Saturday.
It's Saturday. We're doing a show. We have these really nice Anaheim hillbilly
hoodies on.
Hoodies that
so
were
comfy?
gifted to you.
They were. I love these hoodies.
I think it's a great brand too. I don't really know too much about them other than your boss's wife.
Yes.
Has a very successful.
The incredible Gwen Stefani. And
the one and only.
The best fashion sense of anybody I've ever seen.
She really does.
I love everything she wears. I want to wear all of her clothes.
I don't.
I do. They're amazing. But her
I want you to wear them, yes,
line is so awesome.
I think it just has a really cool look to it, a cool vibe. Obviously, Gwen coming from California.
From Anaheim
From Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Just that whole Southern California vibe is so cool. It's always been really cool in my eyes. So I think she's been an icon in fashion even before she had a fashion line or a makeup line. Or
she's just always been so unique
yeah,
in every way. And I mean, for the longest time, she made all of her outfits. She still makes
Oh, that's cool.
quite a bit of the stuff that
When
she
was
wears for
on
shows.
No Doubt and stuff, or
Even
in No
before
Doubt?
that,
Oh,
like
wow.
when she was like a young girl,
Oh, very
she would
cool.
make her own outfits for performing and
Nice.
school and all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, I was
She
gonna
sews and does all the kinds of stuff.
I was gonna segue into this week's show, defining success in a different way, but I think just talking about Gwen Stefani, it just right off the bat, you think her name, she's a very successful person in
Certainly
multiple,
Mm-hmm.
across different things in life.
Mm-hmm.
She has a very successful singing career.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very successful fashion designer, I'm assuming now.
Makeup creator.
She has a family.
Mm-hmm.
She's now married, again. So I think that though she's probably gone through a whole lot to get there, success is hard in all shapes, forms, whatever. And so what I was going to ask you at the beginning, and then we just started talking about other things, was how do you define success? Like, what is your definition? Because each person has a different idea of what success is. We all kind of understand it as like the top or the pinnacle, or there is certain, I think, attributes to the term success that carry over across any platform, that however you define it. But I think each person's definition of success is different.
I feel like my definition of success, like in an all-encompassing way, because like you just said about Gwen, there are many different like areas of your life that you can be successful in, and they all take different things. Freddie's stepping on buttons on the mixer over here. Frederick, get out of here. This is Freddie. Everybody watching YouTube, our little cat.
Our little wild cat.
Our wild little cat.
All right, well, that was fun.
Yeah. Great job. Success.
Success. I successfully
removed Frederick.
I didn't need to get a bouncer.
Shutting down the podcast. I would say that success is reaching your goals.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how else to define it, because it can be so many different things. I don't think that success necessarily has to be monetary or promotion related or anything like that. I think it's reaching and then maybe exceeding the goals that you set throughout different aspects of your life. Okay. But I'm curious to see what the actual definition of success is.
Well, I think that, the idea that you just said is you set your eyes on something, let's just say a goal, right? You say, I'm going to go and I am going to win a basketball game, right? But I think the hard part about that success of thinking it only as a win is partially harder because there's two teams involved, right? Like if it's just a single, like if like I'm going to lose 40 pounds and you lose 40 pounds, then you're successful. But then you gain 40 pounds back. Were you successful?
I mean, you were successful, but I guess after that you have to continue.
Well, I guess, your success. But that's my point,
you need to change your goal after you reach it in order to make it something that you continue to maintain.
So I guess like I'm just trying to play on the whole idea of success. Is like, is success really just winning one game, or is it being in, like, let's say the NFL or the NBA or the Premier League Soccer League for 20 years?
Well, I think that depends.
Because maybe you didn't. Well, I know that's.
I think all of it is success.
Exactly. There it is. I think that's the key. Is that, to me, a lot of people think of success as only a monetary thing. Like, oh, he's successful. Well, how is he successful?
You automatically relate that to, oh, he makes all kinds of money and he's
exactly
the top of the chain and all that. Well, so the definition of success, I was very close, is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose.
There you go. All right. I think the purpose is a cool way to think about it, because they don't use like goal, like it's just one thing. Like the purpose is like to play the whole game correctly, as close to as you can, so that way you are successful across a larger playing field as opposed to just one aspect of life. Like the whole purpose of life is to enjoy multiple things, right? I mean, we're not just like born and then do one single thing from start to finish.
Right.
We do a lot of things. And I think that that's the idea, is that success isn't just like, to me, oh, yesterday I weighed 155 and now I'm successful because that was my goal. The success, I think, comes over the consistency of doing 155 over a long period of time.
I got you.
So yeah, like that's where I wanted to start this conversation. But then, because I don't know, I've always been interested in successful people. But I also did always think about it as only a monetary thing for
and I think that's the mentality around success that needs to change, because people work themselves to death and think they're not successful because they aren't making
$1 million a
6
week.
figures or 7 figures, and they're not the president or CEO of the company, and they're not taking these crazy vacations, and they're not, living this extravagant yet fake life on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Like, success, I think, is subjective. And that's what people need to realize, is that being successful totally boils down to what your aims and purposes are.
Well, yeah, because you could be a part of a team and the team is successful in general. You could be like the team's mascot.
Yeah.
And you can be a successful mascot by having the crowd go wild at each game, but then you also are successful with the team because you're helping the crowd stay energized, which then keeps the team energized, which, it's a trickle down effect, I guess.
And I feel like if you think about like an artist, for example, like in my line of work, I'm sure most artists think of success as having the #1 song and you win a Grammy Award or a CMA Award, or, you're like a superstar. Like, that's the only level of success.
No.
To me, an artist that is successful is an artist who is able to support themselves by doing what they love.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to make all the money or have all the accolades, but if you're getting to do what you love every day and that is enough to like keep you going and support you and your family or whatever, that's success.
Yeah.
You've made it.
Yeah.
You're getting to do what you love to do and what you're passionate about, and not having to sacrifice that in order to make enough money to survive.
Yeah.
And then there's different levels of success past that, but I mean, that could easily be considered success.
Well, let's take us for it, because there's a lot of people that always, we could go on about how successful Gwen Stefani is. That's easy, right?
Right.
Because looking at her, you only see the successive sides to it.
But she may not think of all of those things as being success.
So it's easier to look at us and say, okay, well, let's break down what I'm doing. Just for instance, right? You bring up the artist aspect. Well, writing a book is very artistic, right? Like, it's a very not everybody goes down that avenue because it's hard, because it's challenging, because there's probably a lot of risk involved too. There's a high chance that one book gets sold.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
But let's just break it down for me. So I'm going to go on a limb and say there's 3 things in success that truly will catapult you into a successful place.
Okay.
Right? But before you get to there's one thing that has to happen. And I think it is the idea that you have to say that something has to change. Because, for instance, me personally, I felt like I was successful in many ways, but it was usually just monetary.
Yeah.
Like, I was failing at relationships. I was failing as a son a lot of times. I think I was failing as a friend a lot of times. But I never wanted to admit it because it was easier just to look at my success.
You're like, well, I'm successful. Because one of your goals growing up was to make 6 figures.
Yeah.
You hit that. And you're like, well, I'm successful. I did it.
I did it. I made it.
I don't have to do anything else.
Now I can be however I want. But that problem, though, with saying that was the only thing that defined me really left me empty in other categories.
Sure.
Right. So there was one thing that I wrote down that, I really thought was the one word that really is that change, the willingness to like go look inside yourself and say, like, am I happy, or is this really success to me? And it wasn't when I started to break down everything that was happening between you and me. And then I started to think like, well, wow, I'm just becoming another statistic. I'm just going to become another guy that cheats on his wife, and we get a divorce and our kids go separate ways, and awesome.
Yeah.
That's not success, because you're failing what we set out to do, and that's to be with each other till death do us part.
Failing at your vows.
Yeah, like even if you just take the normal vow in Vegas, I'm sure somewhere in there they're like,
vow or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somewhere in there that says like, do you take this person to be your blah blah blah, till death do us part, right? So I didn't want to be that, and it was, I didn't want to be that even before that, but it was easier to not be that.
Right.
So the willingness to change, I think that's the first step before then you can look at the other three things that make success.
I think that's a good observation.
To just even get in the playing field, right? Like to even go and say, I'm going to write a book. You have to be willing to put yourself out there.
Willing to sit down for hours and hours and hours.
To be judged. To sit there and write and to critique yourself and then be critiqued and then edit and then re-edit and then
all the things,
re-edit again and then go out and sell yourself. I mean, it all that is hard. Once you say, okay, that's what I'm going to do, the next three things I think that are key for me, and this is just me, and I want to pass this along to people because, look, we're not trying to sell you a book. We're not trying to sell you like a
eventually we're going to try and sell you a book.
Well, a self-help book. Like a self-help book. Like I'm not sitting here writing, like how Phil wrote a book.
Right.
I want to sell you my fiction book. Yes, of course. But more importantly, I want to give you all the mistakes that I did that I think can help someone, even if, whether it's writing a book or whether it's in their relationship, right?
Being a good husband, being a good dad.
And but there's the other parts to all the successful things that I see now in my life. Like I haven't made $1 off this book.
Nope.
I haven't made a single dollar.
We've spent some.
But we've spent some. So there's nothing successful monetarily about me right now.
Right.
But I'm technically happier than I've ever been in my entire life. If someone was to ask me, how are you doing? I can honestly answer and say, I'm well.
Happier than I've ever been.
I'm not, backflipping down the driveway out of happiness every day, but I'm doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
I mean.
Can you do a cartwheel?
I can do a pretty good cartwheel.
Oh, I want to see. All right. We're going to have to get some content of that.
Yeah, probably not.
I want to see. I don't think I can do a cartwheel anymore.
Well, yeah.
It's been way too long.
Well, I work out every morning.
Wow.
I wasn't meaning that to stab at you. I was just saying, like, I'm pretty physically fit to do damn near anything.
Doesn't mean you have the balance.
Have you ever seen me walk?
Or the talent.
I'm a great walker.
Okay.
But the three things that I think that really have made me successful is love as a number one. Like, love has truly helped me to not only look at our relationship and say, okay, well, what is love? Like, how do I define it now? Is it just a term? Is it just a word? Or is it like a feeling, an emotion? Like, no, it is truly making sure that the person that I want to walk through life with is good, is happy, I'm doing the best that I can for you. And
we've talked about it before, willing the good of the other.
Yeah, and that love isn't necessarily monetary. Sure, money helps.
Yeah.
There's
Thanks. Yeah.
But that's not the end all to this, right? So love is a big part to how we do this. I have to love sitting behind that computer.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I have to like every moment of it, but I have to love what I'm about to do, right? Because then that will then allow me to do this every day when it gets difficult. Then I have to love where I'm at. Like I have to love like waking up every morning at 4:15, and I mean, not leaving this house every day is really different.
I have no doubt.
I have to love doing a lot of things.
You went from never being home to always being home.
Yeah. Yeah, I just took
one
my
extreme
first
to the other.
3 years almost. I just took my first flight.
You did.
So I mean, that right there alone tells you that I'm not scared to put in that kind of effort, though.
Mm-hmm.
So love is a very, I think, you can use it or you can interchange it with other things like passion or obsession or however you want to start to define whatever drives you to doing whatever's going to make you successful, right? Then the next one to me is consistency.
Okay.
Right? Like there's 365 days or 64 days, right?
365.
Yeah. Well, leap year, every once in a while you miss a day or two.
I think leap year you get an extra day.
No.
366. Right? You add a day in February.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. 366. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. Look, I'm not a meteorologist.
I'm not a meteorologist.
Not a yearologist. I don't know. But you have to be consistent, right? Maybe not every single day in, day out. Sure, everybody's human. You get sick, or you have to go do something, or you have to you have jury duty, right? Like,
thankfully, that has not happened to us.
Exactly, but if you get jury duty as a responsible citizen, you have to go, and so there's things that get put on hold, right? Like, I can't do my normal job that day. So consistency, though, I'd say if you're like 70% consistent in your life, that's a pretty good. Hell, if you're like 50% consistent, that's a
It's
100.
very difficult to do what you're supposed to do.
Do you think
every single day?
Do you think you could eat, like, if you knew success, like if someone told you, like, hey, if you ate the same thing, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a whole year, but at the end of that year, you would have $1 million.
I can do it.
Yeah. But that's like a very limited people. I think a lot of people would drive themselves crazy.
It would. I think it would drive probably everybody crazy. The question is, do you have the
consistency,
commitment,
the love,
the consistency, and the love to be able to do
it? Or if they said, like, if you could do this, you don't ever have to go back to the office. You could work from home the rest of your life. Like, that's something that a lot of people would love.
Yeah.
But that's that love and consistency
Sacrifice.
Love and consistency have to mix together. And I think that byproduct is sacrifice. I mean, I don't think that you could use sacrifice on its own, but sacrifice is, you have to love it, and then you have to do it, and then you have to stick to it.
Right.
So it's like love and consistency. Those are two very strong words in the idea of success or successful people in general. One thing that I've been doing lately is I've been reading Proverbs every day.
Me too.
And I heard this through a person that, this guy Ryan Stewman that I follow, and he had asked a billionaire early on in his career, what is something you do daily
that makes a difference?
That has helped catapult your career to the successful place you're at? Most people think like, oh, I get up and I read the stock market or whatever, there's a million answers to that, a billion answers, because each person can wake up and every single successful person can tell you something different.
Right.
But this one billionaire that he really looked up to said, I wake up and I read Proverbs every day, or maybe midday or whatever. Whenever he read it, he read it every day, because there's 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. And it just, each one
has good lessons in it every day.
Has good lessons.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, that's interesting that would be this guy's answer. But then when you read it for the first time and you read some of the lessons in there, you're like, the consistency of reading those lines over time will help shape you into a consistent person across multiple platforms of success. Family life, relationships with friends, relationships with women, business ventures, it has like everything inside of there. How to, I'm not gonna say be a human, but in a way, like how to
treat others is definitely a big part of Proverbs.
I think that it is, and I think a lot of it too is that you're forming a love for something, your fellow man, your friends, your wife. You are truly building integrity, and I think that is what that guy was talking about. Because if he didn't have some of those principles when it came to building his billion-dollar business,
right, right,
a lot of people would take the easy way, but then fail.
Right.
So if you hold on to a billion-dollar business for 40 years of your life, I'm going to say you're kind of
unbelievably
successful.
impressive.
Yeah, right. That would be one way to define success. So like looking at people like a Gwen Stefani, she probably has certain principles that she abides by.
Absolutely.
That have started at a young age that have slowly only probably gotten stronger, if anything, to where she is now, to where when someone gives her a deal, her integrity goes, sorry, that's not for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though someone says, but it's $500 million, you're like, yeah, but that's not.
But that's against everything that I'm all about.
I make $500 million.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and then a deal comes in for $600 million.
Right.
Like that's the point of, I think, reading stuff like that, is that it's building you to understand that, sure, you can take the easy payout, but it'll probably go away. So consistency, right?
Yeah. I like it. I agree.
Yeah. And then my last one is hate.
Explain.
Okay. And that's a very strong word.
Yeah, I was going to say hate is...
All right, well, like, but like...
dislike,
but go back
maybe.
to the willingness to change something, right? Wherever that started, you hated whatever was happening. Maybe disliked. Maybe
I feel like
maybe wanted better.
I think we throw the word hate around like very generally.
It's
at least in America.
Deep word.
But like to really hate something.
Yes.
That's very intense. Okay. But I agree. You dislike something.
Yeah. It's just a quick word.
We can call it hate because it's a generic word.
It's a generic word in the sense that we're using it. But yes, to hate something is very, I mean, you're talking, you really, really have.
You loathe something.
But I think that that's where great ideas start. You know, like that's where great successful things really get the catalyst to go and do something.
Yeah, you have to have the dislike in order to make the change.
Right? Yeah.
You dislike your situation. You dislike
a product.
Yeah.
You disliked
the amount of money you're making. You dislike
your lifestyle.
Your family lifestyle. Yeah, whatever it is.
I mean, like, because you can really
dislike your health.
You can really hate the fact that
it's the catalyst.
That's
the
all.
Dislike is the catalyst.
That's all that it is.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not that you hate someone. It's that you hate whatever situation turned you off. That's the willingness to change. So I think that that's where hate is actually the first thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Comes above. And but I used willingness early because the action is the hate, then the willingness to see whatever you want to change, then the change, and then you turn into love, and then consistency. But yeah, hate's a strong one.
It is, but I understand what you mean. I know you don't actually mean like hate, but you mean hate in the sense of like I dislike something so much I need to make a change.
Well, when the book came into my mind, I hated the situation that I was in. The feeling of not knowing if I would ever go and tour again, or if I ever even wanted to tour again, or if I ever even...
Well, you lost your identity.
I hated everything about that situation. I hated it. I really, really was deeply saddened by how things were handled. Not only like internally, maybe by myself, but even like with how like communication was happening with potentially the world. But I hated the communication within the company that I was with at the time.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy. Because
there was no communication.
There was very
severe lack.
There was very little communication, and the stuff that was coming through, it was hard for them to even say it because I think they were legally trying to watch themselves.
Watch their backs. Yeah.
But the problem that I hated was I always hate when people are like, "We're family," but then they do something that isn't family, And I'm not saying that they did something that was so catastrophic that it was like, oh, I'm writing them off forever. It wasn't like that.
No.
I just hated the situation.
It could have been handled better.
Yeah. There was a lot of things that could have been handled better. For sure.
I do have to say that the company I work for was the exact opposite. They were so transparent and helpful. And
yeah. Now, there were people inside of the company that were helpful, but there was the catalyst. Yeah. There was the thing that sparked me.
I need to make a change before it's too late.
Well, and that's what it started.
I'm stuck.
Yeah, and that's what it started to become was like, well, if I continue down this path, there is a very unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But if I try something new that is all on me, I never have to worry about anybody ever again outside of this table and God telling me you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's all on me now.
It is. It's all.
And if I decide that I want to run it this way, the only conversation I have to have is in that triangle.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's kind of a cool thing.
It's very freeing.
Well, it's very successful. It's a very successful feeling right now because every day that I wake up, though monetarily I go, I can't wait for something to happen.
Right.
On the other end of it, I'm very largely in control of what I do, how I handle it, who makes the decisions, where I go, what time I do it, which those were things I didn't have before.
That's very true. You had no decision-making power.
If I wanted to go on a vacation, I not only had to write an email to one person, I had to then, like, if I was on a tour, I had to clear it with the tour because who knows if there was, like, you know, other things happening inside of there. There was just so many people that had to touch what I wanted to do before I could go do it.
Yeah. Well, you almost changed the date of our wedding.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Crazy. We almost didn't go on honeymoon because you were like, well, I don't know. They might need me. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I'm not knocking this. That's the whole touring industry. It's
That's
not,
the way that
it's
it
not
is.
just...
You have to follow the schedule because so much goes into that schedule.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
And there's never
the
like...
nature of touring.
And there's never someone going, well, if you don't do this.
Right. Of course
But there
not.
is, though.
Well, it's in the back of your mind because you're like, well, if I don't do it,
But
am I
there
going to
is,
get picked
though.
for the next good opportunity?
Well, 100%. And there is this little underlying rule. Well, okay. There's a list of people.
You can say no.
You can say no to anything.
But there are a lot of people that would say yes.
There's a lot of people below you that would really like your spot right now. It's like in anything.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. If I died tomorrow, I would have been replaced you in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Jinx.
At least here, if I die tomorrow, at least I can say like, well, I spent my last 3 years at home with my kids and my wife and the cats, and everybody loved me. Not that no one loved me out there, but
different kind of
my
love.
eulogy might sound a little different.
Yeah. It 100% would.
So success, I think, isn't, to me, the first thing nowadays isn't defined by how many zeros are behind a number in my account, which I can't wait for there to be
for sure
a bunch. Like that's
of course we want that to happen.
Well, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time now and consistency and sticking to it and sacrifice and love and still hating the idea of ever going back to what I did.
Right.
But that's my choice. That's not anybody else's choice. Right. Anybody can do whatever they want. If they want to go and tour the world 7 times over and whatever, drink beer in every bar.
That might be the success that they need.
100%. Yeah. And that's not what
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not defining anyone else's life. What I'm doing is I'm just giving you 3 terms that if you ever want to think about how you define success, think about those 3 terms.
Yeah.
And then add
Take a look at where those apply.
Yeah. And that's it. It's not I'm better than anybody else. It's just that when this sparked in my mind, I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool conversation because I was like, man, I really did hate where I was in life.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the people around me.
But your situation.
I didn't hate, the money. I didn't hate the certain things about the lifestyle, but I hated where I was, though.
Yeah. What it turned you into.
Oh, I was such a drag. I was. And still to this day, I can find myself like, I did it for so long. There's little things about me that I'm still trying to break that are, I think, habits that are harder habits, especially when when it comes to like control.
Yes.
I love to control things.
You do.
But I slowly am letting go.
You're working on it. Yeah. It's not an overnight thing.
Oof, that is a rough one.
It is.
But that's the willingness I have, though, to try to be
and
successful.
You're realizing you don't like that about yourself.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to let go of that. Yeah. So you're using love and consistency and the dislike for that to shape yourself into somebody who's less controlling.
Yeah, like I got a little agitated at our little dude the other night, and it really turned me off of how I went about handling it, to where I really had to sit down the next morning and look at how and why, what was I mad about, or what was just setting me off. And I had to really sit there and go, well, I mean, yeah, like I would have done the same thing if I was 1 in, 6 months, 7 months, like I would be doing the exact same thing he's doing, but I'm not. I'm 40. So of course I don't like that.
Right.
Now, it's not to just let him do it. It's just to find a better way of saying no.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I don't know. I thought that this conversation would really have the ability to give people just a look at our lives too, to show that, like, though you might hear us talk all the time about how, we're successful or we're hitting goals or we're doing this, we still have a
much
giant
work to do.
giant leaps to actually be, I think, even in the upper levels of success that people talk about.
Absolutely.
But doesn't mean that we're not successful.
Right.
And that's my point to it, is that our kid is...
Speaking of our little guy, he woke up from his nap early and he's having so much fun in his room.
But you define success, no one else. That's kind of the point behind this, is that you are the single only person who can define what's successful to you. Not me, not anyone else.
But to you. And then you got to get after it.
But you got to get after it. You got to push. That's the part that I think people... we could go on for hours about this. But yeah, I thought it was fun. If you have ideas of what else success is to you, always feel free to share them.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
On any kind of platform that I'm on.
Oh, hello again, Archie. Archie has decided that he is our new podcast mascot. This is like his second or third appearance lately.
Yeah. Well, Freddie showed up one time and he was like...
Earlier.
Beat it, we already have a mascot.
Yep.
All right.
Somebody wants some attention.
Well, I think we are getting told that it is time to go get our kids. It's time to
wrap it up.
And it's time to wrap this party up.
Yeah, y'all have a wonderful week.
Be successful in whatever you do. However,
be kind.
Yeah, be wild.
That's my message.
Be wild.
Kind. You can be wild and kind.
All right.
Be kind to each other. I think that's what Ellen maybe used to say.
Be kind to each other.
I think
I feel like you stole that from someone.
I think Ellen used to say that.
Great. Now we can't use this as copyright.
No. Y'all have a great week. Archie says hello. Okay, he's about to knock my microphone off.
And there's
cheers.
Cat butt over here.
Cat butt.
Right in my moose nose.
Cheers and bottoms up.
Cheers and bottoms up, everyone.
See y'all soon.
Hey, thank you.
Bye.